Hello, and welcome to Sprinkle Stories and Travels. Today, I would like to share one of the most memorable stories from my childhood. It is a story about a remarkable woman, my grandmother, who lived for more than 100 years and touched the lives of many people in our community. She had no formal education, yet people traveled from near and far to seek her advice, wisdom, and encouragement. Whenever people came to her with worries, disagreements, or challenges, she often spoke about a place called Everything Has an End. So sit back, relax, and join me as I take you back to a simpler time and share the story of the town called Everything Has an End. The town called Everything Has an End. Have you ever met someone who changed people's lives without a university degree, a title, or even a formal education? I have. That person was my grandmother. Some of the most important lessons in life come from unexpected people. For me, one of those people was my grandmother. She never attended school and had no formal education. She could not read or write, yet she possessed a wisdom that many educated people spend a lifetime trying to acquire. My grandmother was well known in our community. People visited her regularly, not only when they had problems. Some came to greet her, others came to spend time with her, and many simply enjoyed her company. She was the kind of person who made people feel welcome. Whenever someone was facing difficulties, however, they often turned to her for advice. Couples experiencing marital problems, family members involved in disagreements, and individuals struggling with personal challenges would seek her counseling skills. The serious conversations usually took place behind closed doors. As children, we did not always know what was being discussed. What impressed me most was the way she handled people. She never rushed to judge anyone. When couples came to her with disagreements, she listened to both sides. She allowed each person to explain their concerns before she offered any advice. She was not interested in deciding who was right or wrong. Instead, she tried to understand the situation and help people find peace. I was old enough to read or notice the expression on people's faces when they arrive and when they leave, even though our presence was not needed. People trusted her because they knew she would listen. She also respected their privacy. Although many people shared personal matters with her, she never spent her time discussing other people's problems. Their secrets remained with her. Sometimes she even helped people financially. Not everyone returned the money, but that never seemed to stop her from helping those in need. Before I continue, readers may wonder how we came to know about some of these meetings if she always respected people's privacy. The answer is simple. No one was listening in on private conversations. In fact, she often reminded us with her usual phrase, "Never listen to what does not concern you." Many of the details became known only because the people she helped later shared their experiences themselves. They openly praised her wisdom, maturity, and ability to offer sound advice during difficult times, and their testimonies spread throughout the community. Whenever someone arrived carrying a heavy burden, my grandmother would often begin with the same words. There is a town near my hometown called Everything Has an End, as told by the people who sought advice from her. As a child, I believed her completely. I imagined a real town somewhere beyond the places I knew. I never questioned its existence. If my grandmother said it was there, then surely it existed. Every time she mentioned the town, a story followed. There was a man who did that. There was woman who did this or that. And eventually, things came to an end. Just a story to calm the waters, and it was a good strategy. The details changed depending on the person's situation, but the message remained the same. No matter how difficult life seemed at that moment, the problem would not last forever. Arguments eventually end. Hardships eventually pass. Pain eventually fades. Everything has an end. The remarkable thing was that people listened. Many arrived worried, frustrated, or discouraged. Yet, after spending time with my grandmother, they often left calmer and more hopeful. I cannot say every problem disappeared immediately, but something changed. The anger softened. The burden became lighter. People left believing that there was a way forward. The same lesson was not reserved for visitors. Whenever there is an argument between us, my grandmother would remind us of the very same thing. She believed that relationships were more important than winning arguments, and that anger should not be allowed to grow unchecked. Years later, I realized something surprising. The town called "Everything Has an End" did not exist. My grandmother had created it, but the lesson behind it was real. Today, whenever life becomes challenging, I still remember her words. And so, to anyone reading this, I would like to pass on the wisdom that my grandmother shared with so many people. Whenever you face a problem in life, remember the town called "Everything Has an End." No matter how difficult the situation may seem today, it will not last forever. That does not mean you should ignore your problems or sit back and do nothing. My grandmother certainly did not believe that. She listened, offered advice, suggested solutions, and encouraged people to take positive steps forward. But before anything else, she reminded them to remain calm. When problems come, do not allow anger, fear, or frustration to take control. Take a moment to breathe. Think clearly. Seek help when you need it. Talk to people you trust. Look for solutions. Storms eventually clear. Arguments end. Hard times pass. Worries fade. Everything has an end. And whenever I think of those words, I remember my grandmother and the imaginary town that brought comfort to so many people. Even today, I still remember the town called "Everything Has an End" and the great counselor who introduced it to us. Both remain among the most treasured memories of my childhood. The town called "Everything Has an End." Thank you for joining me on Sprinkle Stories and Travels. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember my grandmother's words, everything has an end. Difficult times pass, challenges fade, and better days often lie ahead. Until next time, thank you for watching.